Hey, home theater nerds, welcome back. It's Thanksgiving again, and we have a new cast. But let's go around the room here with the introductions. First off, we have John, also known as Steve Brock. We have Rob H. in the top right corner from AV Rant. Oh, John Brock, also known from the Brightside Home Theater Podcast. What a great home theater podcast that is, by the way.
Never heard of it.
Hey, well,
Bottom right corner, we have Lee Overstreet from the AV Rant Podcast. And to his, if you go to the left, you have Tom there from, what's the name of your podcast again?
I don't remember.
You don't remember. You don't remember anything, do you, buddy?
I don't know.
No. Of course, he puts the rant in AV Rant. That's Tom Andrew over there. And then in the bottom, below me, in the bottom left, we have Andrew, also known from the Brightside Home Theater Podcast, the only host on Takeover Tuesday, co-host who have appeared 3 times. He also does a little-known website. What's the name of that one? I can't remember.
I think it's AV Gadgets.
Oh, that's who's the editor of that? Some schmuck.
I don't know. Yeah, some guy.
It's just a terrible human being. It does
It's
nothing.
a love
but
fest this year, apparently.
Yeah.
All right.
trying to
That's the
antagonize
way we're gonna go.
the
But all right,
public.
okay, DJ. This is what happens when DJ doesn't write down what his introduction is
Oh,
going to
I've
be.
been preparing all year. Every time
He's been
Tom,
preparing for literally minutes. For this podcast.
minutes.
This is already a
Minutes.
little testy, isn't it? It's just-
No, that's
I feel tension.
Tom.
Well, it is Thanksgiving first and foremost. I think we're all thankful that DJ is here and able to record with us. If you've been listening to his podcast, it seemed like it might be a little bit touch and go. How the heck are you, DJ, health-wise? Because that's what matters the most by far in all of this.
I am very good. If it wasn't for, like I said before, if it wasn't for sitting down in front of a computer, you wouldn't even know I had an issue. So, but let's not dwell on that. That's
Well, we just want to know that you're doing all right, that you aren't risking life and limb to be here with us this year. So,
I would.
Well, that's exactly why we ask. That's the problem. Looks forward to this so much, as we all do.
I do. And thank you. I want to say thank you to you, Rob, because you've had a lot going on in your life. So everybody has. Tom's had hurricanes come through. Lee, I've been keeping up with you by listening to AV Rant. Everybody's had their trials and tribulations this
Been
year.
some stuff, man. Yeah.
And and I've been busy myself, and we didn't schedule this on time, and which is a lot of the reason why the HT guys aren't here this year. Rob knew he was getting back in his house, and he's like, he emailed everybody. You put this together this year, so thank you,
in
buddy.
quotation marks. I knew I was getting back in there.
So thank you,
Fingers
Rob.
crossed.
Thank you for putting this together this year. You, as usual, you're the MC, so take it away and let's have some fun and get this done before Tom, falls asleep on us.
Yeah, going to turn into a pumpkin pie. That's what's going to happen. Well, this is the 3rd annual crossover event between our podcasts. We're calling this one Thankful Everywhere All at Once. We have to stay in the multiverse of podcasts. So welcome, everybody. We're all very thankful to be here. We've got Aura and Braden, the HT guys, along with us in spirit, but schedules didn't allow them to actually be here in video and audio. So that's all right. We're very happy to have John here and Andrew here filling out those seats, and really, really nice to have this group together, be able to talk about home theater, the year that's just gone past. Like Lee said, we've all gone through quite a bit, so we're very thankful to be able to come and chat with everybody and put something out here once again this year, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So we do have a couple new, can't quite say faces, because Andrew does not have video with us. He's here in audio. But why don't we start off with Tom? You're actually the person who got Andrew introduced to me, because you're the editor over at avgadgets.com. Andrew's a writer there. So why doesn't Tom do a little intro for Andrew and let us know who he is?
Sure. So those of you that know me or don't know me, I've had an almost 20-year career in audio and AV, writing, news, reviews, editorials, just about everything else. I've been doing the AV Rant podcast for, I think it's like 17, 18 years at this point. So it's been going on for a little while. So I've got a little bit of a history in this. So every once in a while, you come across a lost soul. And these are people that have just slipped down the slippery slope of audiophile-ness and hit rock bottom. And when they hit that rock bottom, they find themselves surrounded by AV gear that does literally nothing. Just quite literally. It's just all it does is it allows you to buy more expensive and thicker cables. And that's where Andrew was when I found him. He was at the very bottom of this pit of audiophileness, where he had DACs and external amps and the power cords and just stuff, just so many, very many stuff things. So Andrew reached out to me in all seriousness here. Andrew reached out to me when I was first starting up AV Gadgets, which is something I've been doing for a couple of years now, which is a website that primarily focuses on home theater, but it's a more educational site than it is something that's trying to sell you a bunch of stuff. We have affiliate links just like everybody does because we're trying to stay afloat, but we're really trying to educate people. So Andrew reached out and expressed an interest in writing for AV Gadgets, and he had written before online. He had sent me a couple of links to his previous articles, and I couldn't tell if it was all him or if he had an editor that helped him out, but it seemed fairly coherent and he could string a couple of words together. So I asked him to write a couple of things, and they were good. They were good, or at least good enough, and that's what I was kind of going for at the
That's
time.
some high praise, Andrew. Just so you know, I've known
job,
Tom
Andrew.
probably longer than you have. That's
Good
some
job.
high praise right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, believe me, I've never said
Good
anything
enough.
about Lee being good. So let's
No.
just put it right there.
No, he hasn't.
That's never happened. Andrew started writing for me for AV Gadgets, and it's been quite the learning experience, I think, for both of us. But I'll let him speak more to this. I have challenged him, and I have given him articles to write that I knew when I gave it to him, it would challenge some of his conceptions and preconceptions of how things worked in audio. And with that, Andrew, why don't you chime in here and talk a little bit about writing for AV Gadgets?
Thanks, Tom. When I did reach out, I'd been a long-time listener to AV Rant. I listened to these folks actually while I was building my home theater. So that was sort of in my ear the entire time. So I sort of, kind of cut my teeth in the AV world with those guys. And I guess prior to that, I've always been an AV enthusiast. My tagline on the site is, I've been spinning vinyl since I was a kid, which is true. I've always been a music enthusiast. My roommate and I in university had probably the coolest setup ever. We had the 28-inch Sony Trinitron, Kenwoods and Serwin Vegas, you name it. So we were always, there with the stereo gear. But I really, got an interest in writing after listening to Tom and Rob, give some advice. And I've always liked writing, and it was a way for me to keep, my creative side going and to keep engaged in the hobby. So as Tom said, I reached out to him and said, hey, do you want me to, or can I write for you? And he's like, yeah, send me some stuff. And it has been a challenge because it's really hard because you read all this stuff, you have all these forums, and it's so easy to get caught up with this is the next best thing. You need to get this one thing. It'll make your system so much better. And then you buy it and you sit down and you listen to it and you don't hear a difference, but you're convinced you heard a difference because you just spent something out for this. So, so it is true. I had DACs, I had external amps, I had every streaming box, and now I have a soundbar. I sold it all. I have a soundbar now.
I talked him too far off the edge.
Yeah, that's going a little too far. The overcorrection happened there.
That's
Well,
great.
I'm happy and thankful that Andrew's here because he's just brought the Canadian quotient of this podcast up to 1/3.
Yep.
So that's pretty nice.
Well, I'd like to point out something here. It's kind of funny that Tom is in the middle, bottom middle here. He's the foundation pretty much of this Thanksgiving podcast. Tom's the only one here that was a podcaster, started as a podcaster, and is a podcaster. Everybody else here is a listener that joined in. I
True.
listened to you guys, started my own. I brought on Andrew and John. We'll talk to John in a second. And Lee, I believe you're the same situation, correct?
Yeah, they were looking for somebody to fill in about
Yep.
2013. And I
Yeah.
mentioned I had some radio background and had the equipment and had some knowledge of audio and video. So made sense. And they're like, yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
Grammar Rob, right?
Yes,
Isn't that
that's
what your name was?
absolutely
Yep.
So
Yep,
we all
I wrote to Tom and Dina. I'm like, yeah, you got to correct some of those words in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tom
So-
has fond memories. PTSD just written across Tom's face when I said that.
Let me give you the perfect encapsulation of Rob. If my relationship with Rob, this happened this weekend. As I was driving home from Alabama. Sorry, Lee didn't stop by. I didn't care.
Wait,
And,
what? What?
As I was driving home from
It's
Alabama,
not that big of a state.
if it wasn't
I got
football season, he would have stopped in.
That's
Ah.
right. Yeah, I can't do the Crimson Tide crap.
Oh,
So,
so
I
much
got
fun.
a text from Rob, and the hands free was on, right? So the maps was on. It was like, so Google says to me, "You have a text from Rob. It's very long."
Oh, yeah.
Wait, that one was long? I don't remember that one being long. I
And
can't.
it just had a big link in it. Is what
Oh, it had a
the
big
was.
link. Yeah,
but
there you go. That's what it was.
that is pretty much every email, every text I've ever gotten from Rob
Yeah.
can be described as very long. That is what it is. So I would get
Verbose
these
might be-
massive
might be a
emails
good
from Rob that were, like why I should have used who instead of whom, or vice versa, and it was just
I did one with Rob like that. Like a month ago, Rob? I said, hey, can you give me a call? I got a question. And we ended
Oh,
up
yeah, yeah,
doing
yeah.
it all through text. But I was
Yeah.
like, it would have been probably a 10-minute conversation, but knowing
I
Rob
don't
and
know
I, it
about
would have
that.
been an hour. But that, because we just get going. But the text, Tom, same thing. I'm like, how does he type so fast? And his,
just-
like, I'll send my little square back,
Yep,
and he
the thumbs
sends
are
back
going.
these long rectangles, like 2 minutes after. I was like, I can't even read it that fast. How the hell did he type that thing?
Well, we
it's a
can't.
talent.
Before
Yeah.
we speak to John, and I'm sorry, John, that you've been so
Yeah,
quiet for so
I-
long. We'll get to you in just a moment. I promise you.
That's, trust me.
Not
We
to
can't
worry.
do anything associated with AV Rant as far as introducing somebody new to the AV Rant listenership without finding out what the heck is in your theater, Andrew. We've got to know the gear lust, what occupies that home theater room.
Is that a
of yours.
sound bar?
Yeah, that's it.
Soundbar.
I've
No
done,
display.
I've done some expanding this weekend.
nice.
So I when I wrote this up, I started at the top of my rack and worked my way down. So at the top of my rack, Tom, shut your ears, is a Project Debut Carbon Evo turntable. So I do have some vinyl. I've got an Xbox Series X and NVIDIA Shield Pro 2019, which is my main streamer. For Lee, I've got a Sony VHS in there.
Yes.
Yeah. So he and I were talking over Twitter because I was trying to find my forever VCR and I found it.
Sounds like you got it. I'm so
Yep.
happy.
VCR.
Forever VCR.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I have
That's
5.
great.
Quite possibly not by choice.
I've got both a Harmony Elite and a Sofa Baton X1. I'm not ready to give up my Harmony Elite yet, but I have faith that Sofa Baton's getting there. Powering it, I've got the Onkyo TX NR 7100. So I got that when my X3600 died, and I had a chance to grab one of these right away, which was really nice because it was in the middle of the pandemic. And it had Dirac Live, so I said, you know what, I can try Dirac, and I can write an article. So that's where that one came from. I've got an Aircom T9 cooler on top of that.
It is an Onkyo.
Actually, it's not that hot. It doesn't run much more than 90 degrees.
Oh, good.
So I'm pretty impressed. I've got a Sony mini disc player in there.
Yes.
Yep. I've got a Pioneer Elite CD player. So I've got some tech, and I've probably got about 4. I'm looking at 2 CD players on a shelf right now in front of me in my computer room. So that tells you kind of where I am.
Yeah.
My displays go ahead.
This is after I talked him down from a whole bunch of other stuff. So believe me, it is much better than it was before. Go on.
For my display, I've got an LG B9 OLED 65 inch.
Yes.
And I've got since I am Canadian, I've got Paradigm Premier 200B bookshelves and 600C center. So it's that big monstrous tower speaker pretty much laid on its
turned
side.
on its side.
Yeah. And I've got a couple of subs. I've got a SVS PB1000 and a Monolith M10 V2. So I'm covered for bass for sure. And I should add that I'm in a probably 13 by 21 room, and I sit maybe 6 or 7 feet away from my speaker. So bass is more than adequate. I've got a lot of room treatment. I've got 6 or 7 panels all throughout my room, behind my speakers, in the back of my room. I've got a monoprice articulated mount, which I really love, some Sanus speaker stands, and Philips Hue lighting all around.
Excellent. Very nice.
Nice.
I like that setup. So yeah, we the mystery man of the hour here been sitting alongside us and hasn't said a peep because we haven't let him. John is joining us this year, a new guest to this crossover podcast. Now we're here, the AV Rant crew, we're meeting him through DJ's Brightside Home Theater podcast. So much like Tom introduced Andrew, DJ, why don't you say a few words about John? John, then we'll let you finally speak. No, I'm just kidding.
So Steve comes to us.
I wanted to try it out even more. Why not? We should just make it really clear, though, because not everybody's watching the video version of this. DJ has a podcasting partner. Now he's not doing solo anymore. His podcasting partner does have the same name, John, but that's not this John. This is a different John who has been on Takeover Tuesday a couple of times.
Same state, so it could be confusing.
There you go. It can be confusing. So, John, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience? And then, yeah, we got to find out what's in your home theater, too. It's some pretty impressive stuff I'm looking at in this little shared Google Doc we got going.
Well, DJ, you can, if you wanted to say anything, I mean, you don't have to, but
Yeah.
DJ never gets to talk.
I don't want you to talk.
Never,
I don't want to talk over you.
John's one of my listeners that, for
Right.
people that don't know, that listen to AV Rant and they haven't heard Brightside Home Theater, I do take over Tuesdays, where I host listeners every Tuesday. And John reached out to me a while ago, earlier this year, and we had a conversation. And his story of his home theater that he's in right now is absolutely amazing. I'm gonna link that podcast in the show notes to this, because what he has been through, what he went through, moving from California to Texas, and issues that he had, and the positivity that he showed, it's literally it's what Brightside's all about, to be honest with you. We've had great conversations otherwise too, but he's always just positive about it. It's like he had setbacks, he had issues, and he's just like, you know what? But this is just fun. It's the journey. And he's so right. And that's part of home theater. One of the experiences that we have is building our theaters. Sometimes it's forced upon us, like what you're going through, Rob. And other times it's, choices that we make, and we want to change things up a bit. And John's got a lot of both in there, of those issues. And I was happy to have him on. I put this out on my stream, and I said, first person that's going to show up, I'm going to ask him, and I'm just going to keep going. And John was the first one. I go, John, you want to be there? And I was like, I hadn't got the question out, and I saw the reply in the stream. It's like, I'm there. I was like, all right, buddy. So I couldn't be happier to have him here. John, why don't you take it away? Introduce yourself to everybody and tell them a little bit about your story.
Thanks, Deej. I appreciate that. That's nice of you. Not sure what you were going to say. DJ and I have had a short but torrid history.
Steve.
Jeez.
Wow.
Anyway, you'd have to tune in to find out about that. But
It's fun.
yeah. So I've kind of felt for Rob as his recent calamities he's had to deal with. I don't know a lot of the details, but I know involved you were forced out of your home and had to find elsewhere, and in dealing with insurance companies and moving back in and all that. So I can relate to that as one of the houses I was in, and we were getting ready. We were doing some remodeling in California, and I was getting ready to build this home theater that wasn't the ideal size, but I was like, hey, there's a room available, so we're going to use it. And after, it was a good size house, good size property, so there was a lot to get done before I was going to be allowed to build my home theater. So priorities, and after 2 years of priorities and getting the house how we wanted it, how she wanted it, how the family needed it, it was time to start mine. And then I'm like, I don't know, I'm not totally happy with the room dimensions, and but I'm gonna get started on it. I'm at least going to get started because I do a lot of planning, maybe over planning. And as I started planning that, and I had already had the speakers, Pacific Sales. Is anyone? I think it's
Not
probably only
familiar.
in California.
Nah.
They had something similar to. They're attached to Best Buy somehow. So Pacific Sales had a lot of high end, mid. They had a lot of clipped speakers, but Pacific and high end appliances, home appliances. Washers and dryers and refrigerators. But they were clearing out their home audio section. They were sending it all to Best Buy, to the Magnolia Best Buy. So they had some stuff. So I bought a bunch of reference clip stuff. Had it all. It was all boxed in this room, ready to use it. And then we decided, you know what? I don't think long-term California is, and we lived there our whole lives, and the kids were getting older, and I don't think Southern California is where we want to set deep roots. So we started looking elsewhere, and as we did that, we decided on DFW area of Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And as we started doing that, we put the house on the market. We did some remodeling, get the house put on the market after doing a significant amount of remodeling and kitchen and master bathroom, and you know what that could look like. And a plumber comes in, steps on some pipes. We're all gone. Floods 3 levels of the house. I'm gone. I'm watching this happen on my security cameras.
Yeah, I can commiserate.
I'm watching water fall on my computer desk that's on the 3rd level, which means, and it's coming. I know that means it's coming from the attic.
Yep.
So it hit all the levels, destroyed all the remodel, and then he ghosts us. Plumber takes off. We never find him again. That's its own story.
Wow.
So we have to take it off the market. We have to rebuild. We have to get it perfect again. Fast forward 5 months, we put it on the market, and we get out here to Texas, and I find a house. I'm like, okay, this next house, like we look at 22 houses, and everything, as all of you would. The first, where am I going to put my theater? How am I going to make it? How would this look? I mean,
every single room. How do I turn this room
everything
into a theater?
else negligible.
There's an
Babe, you
oven
like
in
the
this
kitchen?
theater.
All right, but yeah. So
Strange place to
I
put
found
a washer and dryer.
That's right.
So we find a house that has a detached building above a garage, kind of like where Fonzie would live. And it's, I assume some of you understand what that means.
Yeah.
So it's a room above, I forget what you call it, a room above a detached building above a garage. And it was the perfect setup. Not perfect. It's still an A-frame, but it was very workable, and it was detached. And it's like, this is the house, babe. So I'm convincing her on all of the other things.
Reference level won't be a problem for the bedrooms inside the main house. That is the dream, right?
Yes. So, but of course, some other things have to be taken care of. So we're moving around. We still have the pods out in the driveway. We're moving in, and we're 9 days in 2020. Did everyone else have a fun 2020? Was everyone's 2020 just stellar?
Unremarkable.
Everybody's.
If I remember correctly.
What could have gone
It's
wrong?
hard to
The
remember
disease I
2020.
got that year wasn't great.
So here we are, 2020.
Is that
we
what you're
move
calling
in.
your Tesla these days? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was 21. It didn't turn into a disease until this year.
Oh, geez.
Sorry, John. Go on.
So, no, not at all. So beginning of summer 2020, we're 9 days in. I'm in the garage organizing my tools on this pegboard that already exists in the garage. So I'm happy as a clam. I hear the fire alarms going off. I don't pay attention because fire alarms are always going off. I know it's in the middle of the day. My wife screwed up on something in there. And so I keep hanging my tools on, and doing my organizing of tools. And I get a call from my wife. I'm like, what? John, do you hear that? Get in here. She's screaming at me. And I'm like, yeah, it's a fire alarm or, smoke detector. To figure it out, hit it or something. She goes, get in there, the house is on fire. She tells me to go into the house if the house is on fire. So that's maybe.
Clearly does not understand how
She
fire
wasn't
to save
happy
it.
with you.
So-
Yeah. So get in here, the house. I'm like, okay. So once I get in the house, they're gone. they're out of the house. I don't see any fire. So I go upstairs. I'm like, okay, there might be some smoke going on, but I can't see anything, right? And by this time she's calling, she's screaming, get out of the house. Well, I'm looking for it. So I go in part of the attic. It's a walk-in part of the attic. I don't see anything. So I go to the pull-down attic and I start going up the ladder, and the heat is so intense. I'm like, this feels like death. And the whole attic is glowing. I can't even get my head into the attic. That means the whole attic's on fire. I mean, it was hot. You know, those movies you watch where they're screaming and fighting in a fire and talking?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. Yeah,
So I guess we got to look at the
and,
silver lining, which is at least this time your attic wasn't filled with water. You know?
right. It wasn't
Not yet.
water yet. Not yet. But what happens after a fire happens?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. So I got out. Fire trucks show up. I think we had like 11 fire engines show up. Now we're 9 days into the house. There's boxes everywhere. The pianos were the only thing in the pods that hadn't got brought in yet. And then the firefighters proceed to set out to destroy the attic, to flood the attic with water. Well, the water doesn't stay in the attic, of course.
No.
So that
Gravity.
destroys the whole house. Yeah. So now we have caked insulation everywhere. Everything's ruined. All the boxes are ruined. Every room is pretty much trashed. And I'm like, okay. The next day, so everyone's fine. Everyone's okay. I mean, the house is destroyed. The next day, I get a call from the remodel person who was supposed to start my home theater, because I got this started months before. And he's like, okay, I'm ready to start the demo and we'll get you this home theater room going for you. And I'm like, I apologize. I didn't get a hold of you yet. My life's been chaos the last 24 hours. The remodel's not going to happen. My whole house, not burned down, but was destroyed from the fire and the water. I'll call you in probably about a year. You know, come by and look at it if you think I'm kidding. It's really happy.
Yeah.
He's like, come on, really? So anyway, so it's put on hold. So in the meantime, now I have a year and a half before I get back in, and I'm just creating my theater. I've been thinking about it. You know, I've been building it since California, and I didn't even end up using those clip speakers. But I'm building it. I'm dreaming. I'm learning. I'm watching all of you guys and different podcasts. You know, Youth Man, right? I'm just learning about stuff. And of course, you know, that the more you learn, the more, as Tom can attest to, you probably the more trouble you get yourself into. But I didn't have Tom to talk me down out of anything. So
That's what he's here to do, man. Free podcast.
So I start building this theater, start buying things and putting it in the garage that wasn't destroyed. So now that I've moved back in, I've been back in for about a year, but of course moving back into pretty much essentially a brand new house where every wire is new and everything is, you know, 2021 code and everything, but you know, things have to get dialed in. So the theater didn't get started right away. That was not a priority to other people in the house. But now that it has, I finally said, okay, it is time to pull the trigger, stand back.
Finally, yes.
Yes. So the room is I kind of narrowed it. I kind of brought in the walls and I brought down the ceiling, because if you think like an A-frame doesn't have it's not a rectangle. So I narrowed it a little bit, brought the ceiling down a little bit. And what I ended up with is a 17-foot by 25-foot by 11-foot. And it has a 15-inch riser.
If you go and plug those into the room mode calculator, that's just about ideal. I'm thinking maybe there was a bit of that going on here.
It's not bad. It ended up
pretty darn good.
Yeah, not a perfect rectangle because there is some A-frame left over, but it's okay. It's still going to work. It's going to work fine.
And just to tease people a little bit here, I'm looking at the list here. Like, you must have had some good insurance, because this is like a who's who of pretty much dream equipment for most of us home theater enthusiasts. So.
Remember what I told you? This is a detached building, so none of this whole room didn't get covered.
Yeah, this wasn't burned down.
Unfortunately, well, I'll say unfortunately, but you know, unfortunately, this wasn't. This had to just be slowly acquired over time. But still, I digress. So yeah, I have they're all focal speakers. It kind of started with I had bought Sopra Tower Sopras, and I was locked in on those when I demoed them at an audio video place out here in Texas. and they were the piano white versions. They look like stormtroopers with a black neck and everything. And so my wife loved the sound, and I loved that they look like two stormtroopers standing guard.
Nice.
So they're all full. It started out with those Sopras, and it's a 9.4.6 setup. The Tower Sopras, and those are complemented with the 1000 series in-wall, which are as close to an in-wall that you're going to get to a Focal Sopra.
Still got the inverted beryllium tweeters that Focal is so famous for.
Right. So you got radioactive tweeters going on everywhere. The center,
Toxic,
the sides,
not radioactive, just toxic. Just don't crush them up and breathe them in. That's all you got to worry
I
about.
like
You'll
to
be
say
fine.
radioactive. And the rears Atmos, they're all the 1000 series.
Nice.
And then RTJ subwoofers, I have the 18-inch. I have 4 of those, so 2 in the front, 2 in the rear. And then the JVC NZ8, it's actually the 3100.
Yeah, the
laser
reference
projector.
series over on the JVC Pro side, but it's the equivalent
sir.
of the NZ8.
Yes. And I just got that. Let me brag about that a second. I just got that returned. Has everyone ever heard of Chris Deering?
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
I'll raise your
Famous,
hand. Of course.
well, more than a calibrator, but famous for his calibrations.
Absolutely. So I sent that off to him. He just got it back to me the other day. So I had him, because he has a studio where he can make he can mimic your room with the distance and the exact screen material and everything. So he can, and then you just send him the projector. So he's able to mimic your room pretty dang close to the exact thing. So he did that for me, and I just got that back. And I have that in a projector lift by Future Automations. I do have a MadVR NV video processor.
Did you send that along to Chris Deering at the same time to let him use that? Or?
I asked him about that, and he said, if you had a Lumagen or a MadVR, it's not really going to matter. What I'm going to do to your projector, the MadVR is plugged in after that. He knew that I had it, so he gave me all the specs, and he said, just put it in natural mode.
Yeah,
you'll be fine. And then I have someone helping me on this end do all the acoustical audio calibration, and they will dial in the NV for me. So he knew that ahead of time, so he was able to do it. And then, of course, this is all complemented and all surrounded by the brains of it, and that's the Trinov Altitude 16. And so that's powering all my audio. And I do have amplifiers from Audio Control. Savoy and Avalon are doing that. And my screen is a StudioTech 130, StudioTech 130.
We know a certain man named Carl who's going to be very happy to hear that you went with the Studio
that's
Tech.
true.
Yeah.
Hi, Carl.
It's great. It's a 16 by 9. I know.
Hooray!
A lot of people,
Even with a Mad VR envy, this man
I'm not
decided
scared.
that
I'm not
taller
scared.
content should be taller. That's amazing.
Right.
It's fantastic.
I didn't mind doing that, and I have no problem doing some masking. I can put some velvet on the top and bottom when I feel necessary. And my man DJ created a video on how to do that yourself, and just making your own velvet panels on that.
With all of this stuff and all of your gear, you're gonna make it yourself.
Hey, I got it on some of this. I got to say it's DIY. Okay.
Okay.
So that's going to be my DIY. That'll be my claim that I did some of this myself. I'm going to make some foam velvet.
Everybody will be able to tell because it'll be the one wonky thing in the whole theater.
Yeah,
I think that's off
and then they'll say, and that's why I don't DIY things.
I'm
I
actually
made that
working
one,
on
everybody's like,
another
we know.
design
It
too.
keeps
Yeah, I
falling
can
down in
totally
front of the
tell.
screen. Is that supposed to happen?
The screen's a 150-inch, so good size, big boy. I am going to have Kaleidoscape. There's 3 hours we could talk about Kaleidoscape right there. So I will not. We all know it's amazing. Apple TV 4K will be my streaming. I have a Rayvon X200, which is just the 4K Blu-ray player. I also do have a Panasonic 820, but that's in my media room in my house.
Nice.
So still shout out to Panasonic. They're great as well. Nothing problem with that. URC is doing my automation, which is universal remote control. They've been around longer than, I want to say longer than Control 4 and
They have
Crestron.
been
And
a long.
yeah,
not
they have
Crestron,
all
I
the
think,
contracts
but
with everyone too. And so yeah, they're great. And the people doing the install, that's what they know the most. So I'm like, fine, as long as it's user friendly and the panels look great. And yeah, so that'll be good on that. Acoustics is doing my room treatment as far as all the acoustical panels, and they're not so they'll be exposed because they're kind of they're prettier than just a foam insulation.
They are
like
a little bit more
702.
expensive than some of the the gig products that we talk about a lot of time, the Acoustimag, but you're paying for that little bit higher end finish, the nicer appearance of them. So it all
Right.
makes sense.
It'll kind of make the room look a little teched out. So
Sure.
I'm excited about getting those in because those are sitting in my garage right now. I have all the Philips Hue lighting in kind of accent around some archways in there, and then around my all my stairs have the Philips Hue in as well. And DMF lighting can, or the can lights are DMF. If you don't know anything about DMF, I encourage you to look into those because they're guaranteed to have 1% increment dimming all the way down to 1% without flickering down to 1%. And that just impressed the heck out of me. So I really I zoned in on that because I think that's so incredible to have that and just make it really nice. I have the Tuscany Ultimate Luxury seats going in. I have a custom couch as the second row behind the theater seats. And then I have cool
That's where Lee's going to lie down sideways. Got to have that
Yes,
couch for Lee.
That's how I watch movies, is sideways. It's a wonder I can hear
it.
surround sound at all.
I have it ready for you. That's I have the pillows fluffed, and then cool components is I have I think three of those cooling my rack, and I guess the audio control they're not D's, H amplifiers, so I guess they run pretty cool, but just between components, still got to have a little bit of coolness going on. And actually my whole rack is underneath; it's on the garage level, so I won't have to worry about venting any heat into my room or noise or anything that can come of that. So, of course, the Blu-ray player and things like that will be up in the room, but the rack is on a separate room, and I think that will be more convenient than inconvenient. But we'll see, because that's how it
If
is.
some of those Vicoustics panels are still not installed there, make sure your Trinov guy doesn't show up before they're in there. Yeah.
Yes, everything's going to be just as it should be before the calibration's done, because we want that dialed in perfectly. So that's
there
my
we
system. That's my
go.
story, and I'm just here because DJ invited me, and you guys are way above my level, and
I don't think so. I think
just
you have,
glad to be here.
by a pretty good margin, the most expensive theater out of any of us. DJ would be second
Oh, yeah.
closest, but I don't think it's quite up to that level. So,
But the
yeah.
knowledge you guys have.
Oh, come on, my version of Kaleidoscape is called BitTorrent. So
Hey, I might use that from time to time, actually.
Once in a
it's
while.
helpful. It's helpful.
Do people still use that? Because I feel like
Oh, yeah.
an old guy every time I'm like, okay, BitTorrent still used. Okay, because I do use it. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
okay.
definitely.
All right.
still-
Okay.
So there we are. We've been introduced to our new cast members here for this year. Once again, this is Thankful Everywhere all at once. So we want to go through what we're all thankful for this year. We haven't had a chance to talk to Lee in depth. So why don't you start it off, Lee? What are you thankful for this year?
Well, if we're starting first with just talking about tech stuff, AV stuff, because there's, health would be pretty high up on that
Sure.
list, and having people be healthy. And I'm very thankful that I have no real problems, no physical problems. I got some.
Yeah.
My wife is doing so much better now. Everybody's hanging in there, and I like
Yes,
that. But
that is number one for sure.
But speaking of tech, it's got to be fiber for me this year.
Yeah.
Because we finally got symmetrical gigabit fiber at our location. They've been teasing us with it for years here, and no data caps. It's making streaming just absolutely magical. I don't have to worry about anything. It even helped my mom. She got fiber at her house this year as well, even though she got the slower quote unquote slower 300 megabit per second plan because she didn't need anything more. But she's discovered all kinds of cool stuff because now she has a Roku, and she found like the little Roku channel and like Tubi and other things. And we got her YouTube TV, and she's in hog heaven. She slowly figured it out. And she's off to the races with it. That's so much fun. So fiber's been everything. Like the audio that I upload to Rob when I'm on with him. The first time I uploaded that audio, which is usually a couple of 100 megabytes, usually I start the upload and I check and see that the bit rate is normal and it's uploading, and then I go do something. But by the time I clicked to see if it was uploading, I thought it wasn't working because it was done.
Yeah, it helps when I was doing that all from my car. So yeah, thanks for sending that over quick.
Right?
So what did you
my
have and what
gosh.
do you have now?
What
What speed were you at, and what speed are you
Oh,
now?
well, we had Comcast where the upload speed was in the 300, no, the download speed was in the 300 megabit per second range, but upload was capped at 12.
Ooh.
12
Sometimes.
in
I was there.
2022.
I was at
digits?
15 for a
Yes.
long time. Yeah.
12.
Whoa.
Not 12 gigs, 12 megs up.
Yeah.
So to go
Wow.
from 12 to 950
Yeah.
is quite the difference. So fiber's everything, and no data caps either. So the aforementioned program that rhymes with Schmidt-Schmorant has been also interesting as well.
Or, DJ can just hook you up with his connections and get you Kaleidoscape because you'll be downloading those movies in no time.
All right.
What
I mean, I'll take what I can get. Sure, why not? But also, the other thing I've been very appreciative of just in the past few weeks is listener suggestions for movies for me.
Oh.
Because I decided a few to several weeks ago, it's time to learn how to watch movies again. I realized that my attention span has degenerated so much that I get mad at 3-minute TikTok videos. I'm like, oh, it's a long one. And scroll on past that. So like something's got to give. That's not good for your mental health, right? And got some really good suggestions. I don't know if anybody cares too much, but I know that Daz, who was a listener to AV Rant, and he became a friend of mine on Facebook, he suggested several. So I watched The Vast of Night, was a cute little low-budget sci-fi that I enjoyed a lot. He suggested Synchronic. I watched that. It was all right. I also watched... I just found on my own Prospect, which is another like sort of low budget sci-fi that was really good. I like that one. Recommend.
There's a theme here, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I tend to like the funky little weird lower budget ones. The bigger blockbuster sci-fis usually I'm rolling my eyes at. Although I did watch Annihilation, that was kind of a bigger budget, big studio, and I guess I didn't love it, but Natalie Portman, so that was kind of fun. But so that's what I've been doing. Now I'm getting excited about movies again, and it's been a challenge. I won't say I've watched every one of those all the way through. I did take breaks, but I'm getting there.
All right. I thought you meant you
wait.
stopped.
Okay.
It's a real
This is
mental
the
effect.
worst movie review I've ever heard, by the way. In case you're wondering, I didn't watch the movie all the way through, but it was pretty good.
No.
How does that
What I
even
mean is
work?
I didn't watch it in one segment.
Sitting.
All
It was
right.
in a contiguous viewing.
Yeah, right. No, I watched these movies I mentioned all the way through, just not all at once.
You
Totally
watched them
understood
in
what you were
3-minute increments like
Yeah.
TikTok.
That's right.
You need an
Watch them
editor
in
for your
a-
movie reviews. That's all I gotta say.
Just I didn't think anybody wanted details on these movies. I'm happy to talk about them if you want. I've got opinions, and I can tell you why I liked what I
No,
liked.
you come
but
on my show and we'll talk about it, Lee.
Let's do that. That would be the appropriate place to talk about the details
Exactly.
of these movies and what I'm getting into, and maybe why I like these little low budget efforts
Yeah,
so much.
that sounds like fun.
Yeah, that would actually be we can talk about lower budget films and what constitutes
Yeah.
a good one or a bad one. So yeah, there's if anybody wants to hear, I'm happy to talk about it. But also the other thing I'm excited about and thankful for this year is normalizing prices for computer parts.
Yeah, I think we can, thank all the cryptocurrencies dying for most
Yes.
of that. But yeah, there we go.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
every dollar that Bitcoin and Ether drop, I'm just like, yes, destroy
Well, that Ponzi
wealth.
scheme
Yes,
finally died, so yeah, we can get back our GPUs. That's
right.
nice.
So I
That's
actually,
right.
yeah, I've got a pretty good system I'm going to put together. I just bought stuff that finally I'm going to have a modern system. The one I'm using right now has served me well, and it's actually still quite nice, but it's from 2014. Time to move on.
Now you can be a BitTorrent server and just instead of just a peer,
I could with yeah, probably not. Let's not say that out loud.
No, just kidding, folks. So yeah, DJ, we haven't talked to you too much at all since the beginning of this podcast. So what the heck are you thankful for this year, my man?
I wasn't expecting to go next. I am, believe it or not, what I'm most thankful for. If you guys remember last year, I talked about what I was thankful for was IMAX Enhanced being on Disney Plus. Because what I liked was that I think it's pushing the envelope. And so this year I'm going to follow it up with streaming media. It's
In general, overall,
just in
all of it?
general. I'm so thankful for it because I think it's going to
Even
get
as you sit there with a Kaleidoscape that you buy
Yeah.
a movie for every 10 minutes, what the heck's going on, man?
no, because you know why? Because
What does
our
DJ do for a living that he's got this disposable income? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to
I
know.
work
what
for
his
myself.
job is.
It's
I pay
called
card.
debt.
yeah, no,
No, I don't.
no.
All right, go on. Sorry.
No, but No, streaming media is like, and it falls right into, I came up with this before I knew the topic, but it kind of gets into the topic of that, like, where is home theater going? How, what is it? And it's like an audio file didn't start as an audio file. You just started listening and you become an audio file as you educate yourself into what you're supposed to be hearing and through it, right?
Or
Well,
misinform yourself, as the case might be. But yeah,
well,
there you go.
whatever. But there's an education there. Nobody is born hearing everything correctly, right? So streaming media, to me, if we had something like this back in the 80s when I started in home theater, we're getting streaming media right now is getting so close to physical media that
Agreed.
it's almost negligible, right? I mean, audio has a little bit more to go.
Which
but-
shouldn't be the problem. I mean, if we got the bandwidth to do
Right.
4K HDR video,
Right.
getting us to just lossless immersive audio really is not going to be the bandwidth
Right.
hog that can't be overcome. So that's
But-
a little bit disappointing. But we'll get there. We'll
But
get there.
think of the quality that people are getting just streamed into their homes, and like Lee
Yeah.
said, with getting fiber now, it's like he can stream. He's got no glitches or anything, and but a lot of the bugs are still being worked out. Of course, like Tom, you had the issue watching the football game on Amazon, and some TV. There are bugs there, but these bugs are minor compared to the bugs that we had called snow and tapes breaking and wearing out and laser discs and all of this other stuff. But streaming media is bringing more and more people into home theater, and that's what I'm thankful for, because the pandemic alone, they went to streaming media because they couldn't put it in a theater, right? And what ended up happening is people are talking about building theaters. People are, coming into our world because of this. They want to get more out of their streaming media. And did I had Laserdisc back in the day. Do I have a Kaleidoscape now? Yes. But it doesn't mean that it's like, what started you out? What got you going? And it's stuff like this that's getting, who knows what the next, best version is going to be. But there are a bunch of people watching stuff now, kids watching streaming media now, trying to get the most out of their systems. And someday they'll elevate to the next level if they choose, like we all did. And that's, I love that that's what I'm getting. And I get a lot of listeners commenting on that as well, that they don't need a Kaleidoscape because they have an Apple TV 4K or they NVIDIA Shield, and they're streaming everything in and they're happy with their quality. And there's nothing wrong. That's awesome. That's perfect. You're getting everything. It's a great experience, and it's not that far off from physical. And it's a great entry for home theater fans. So as far as movies content, I think my listeners would be a little upset.
Sight, sound, scenes, DJ. What's
The
what
sights, the
sight, sound,
sounds, the
scenes have you thankful
scenes.
this
I
year?
mean, come on. It's the movie of the
Can't
year.
imagine.
It's Top Gun Maverick. And it's not only do I love the movie itself, I loved it in the theater, couldn't wait to see it at home, but it is driven the home theater market. I just love to see that face out of Tom when I do stuff like that. It has driven the home theater community nuts with their, variable aspect ratio. Should I have this screen? Oh, I bought this screen. Oh, I got a 240 to 1 screen. This is horrible. Well, nobody told you to buy that. It's like
John's
Wow.
doing all right with his
Some of
150
us
inch.
actively told you not to buy it. but
exactly. And it's
I
like
can't think of
now-
anybody who would be that person.
I have reasons. I might get one someday, but it would be like if I had a really wide room that isn't very tall and I wanted it to be all screen. I get that. But after the fact, I'm not going to get all upset because an artist decided to make something variable, or like the title of this show today with, Everything Everywhere All at Once. They've got all three aspects going in that
Mhm.
and utilized very, very well. It's part of the movie. But what did Maverick do? It got everybody talking. And it got everybody going. And Mad VR jumped right on that with their instant change, and it's changed the market. And then Lumagen did the same thing and all of this stuff. but it created this hubbub, not only about the movie being just a fun blockbuster movie itself, but also what it's done for the tech part of home theater. I mean, just been fun all around. I think 2022 has been a fantastic year for home theater.
And DJ being DJ, he did watch it streaming. He also watched it in the theater. He also watched it on Kaleidoscope and probably has the physical disc too. Am I right?
Just gave it away. Yeah, I bought it and just gave it away on my show. So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
Well,
you.
Tom has been enduring all of this for a little while. He's been biting his tongue for most of it. So, Tom, why don't you let us know what you're thankful for? We'll turn it around and be all happy. Happy Tom now.
Yay!
Happy Tom. Let's talk about all the happy things I'm thankful for. There's a lot to be thankful for in home theater in general. I don't have a specific piece of equipment. I review a lot of stuff for AV Gadgets. I currently have a short throw projector in for review that I haven't. I'm waiting for an HDMI cable to come from Monoprice, believe it or not, so that I can review it. But there's a lot of stuff that I could be thankful for, but I am going to be thankful for something that doesn't exist anymore, and that is the home theater in a box. So for many years, the early part of my career, there was this huge trend of having what we call collectively a home theater in the box, which is the 5 or eventually it was 7 speakers and a box that they called a subwoofer.
Yes.
And sometimes
I love that as
sometimes
in a sub.
yeah, had to stop myself there. And they would have a receiver or something that build itself as
Sometimes
a receiver.
proprietary.
Many times proprietary. A
Not
lot of times
always.
with DVDs or Blu-ray players built
Mhm.
into them and other things. Maybe that could be your forever or whatever the heck it is that you're looking for these days, guys. But these things have gone the way of the dodo. In fact, I did a search recently, like Best Buy and Newegg and stuff like that, and there's still a couple out there, but they don't exist anymore. And
Mm.
I think this is a great thing. Now, of course, what killed them was sound bars. Sound bars are what everybody wants. Nobody really wants a home theater in a box because they didn't want the wires to begin with.
Mhm.
They wanted surround sound, but
Right.
what they really wanted was just a speaker to go up front, which is why I would walk into people's houses all the time and see a bunch of speakers sitting at the front of the room.
Yep.
I'm like, well, there's like 7 speakers up there. Why are they all in one place? And why is
You
that
see
place
the-
over to the right side of your TV?
The longer
And-
horizontal one is in the bottom left-hand corner of their TV cabinet behind the door. It's like, how come the voices sound muffled?
Oh, I've
Hard to
been to
figure
my
out.
uncle's house back in the 2000s once when he had 5 speakers on top of an armoire with a TV in it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
So
I had a lot of explaining I had to do.
so I'm happy that has gone the way of the dodo because it does 2 things. First, it gives the customer, who are most people out there, what they really want, which is a single speaker solution that's at the front of the room, and they can have what they want, and they can realize eventually that it's not what they expected it to be. It's not what's promised on the tin. They did not get the surround sound experience, the Atmos experience, all the other crap that it says on there. So they go looking for the step up, and there's no more home theaters in the box to buy, which is fantastic because they have to actually go and buy a real home theater. They have to buy real speakers and a real receiver, and they have to do a little bit of research and figure this out, which I think is a huge benefit because it takes away that sort of, I don't have to think about this too much. I'm just going to buy this thing that's all together in one big set. And for me, I think that's a benefit because what we're seeing, at least in my mind, is a lot more people who are interested in it. The pandemic, of course, really motivated this. Interested in having better sound at home, have tried the soundbar option, realized that the soundbar option wasn't what they wanted. They wanted something more movie-like, and now they're having to go out there and get it, and they're not able to go just buy that single box solution, which is again going to be another disappointment. It gives them, you get to entry level, and then you can actually get someplace good from there. And the key here, I think, more than anything, and Rob and I have talked about this a lot on the AV Rant podcast, but it's very easy to find reasonably priced, decent speakers and decent subwoofers these days. For a long time, and I mean, even if you're going to go the projection route, projection screens are like cost nothing compared to when I started. When I started, a projection screen was $3,000, just any size. Pick
We
a
were
size.
so happy when Karada arrived and
Yeah.
brought the prices to under $2,000.
That's right. I mean, it was like it's like a huge deal. So prices have come way down, but the quality, the cutoff point where you go from it's good to point of diminishing returns is come way, way, way down. So you can really get a really decent system for not much more than you would have spent on a home theater in a box, but it's way better. So I'm really happy to see that sort of trend. And it's been all spurred by market forces and what sells and that sort of thing. I mean, home sound bars are insanely expensive these days, right?
Some
It
of
used to be
Good
Some,
ones
yeah.
are, yeah.
a couple $100, and that's you couldn't spend more than that unless you try. I mean, you have to really
Right.
you have to go to Yamaha and get one of their digital sound projectors, which nobody understood how those worked. They were, just a bunch of tweeters as far as anybody could tell. So, nowadays they have tons of options because people want to spend more money hoping to get something better, but they it only gets so good with a sound bar. So I think it's really good that that there's no more home theaters in the box and that we can actually get people into real home theaters for a pretty reasonable price, I think. And the second thing I'm going to be thankful for this year is Reddit, and it's because much like the beginning of Star Wars, you have to go through the terrible bar full of unsavory types who are trying to kill you in order to realize your true potential as a human being. And I've spent an inordinate amount of time on Reddit recently because for AV Gadgets, one of the things I like to do is come up with articles based on people's actual questions. And I get that from the podcast quite a bit, or things Rob and I talk about, or just things I'm thinking about. But going on Reddit and seeing some of the questions that I'm like, there's no way somebody's actually asking this question. Like, this question is so off the wall that I cannot believe it. But then you'll see it asked over and over again. And there's people out there who just literally don't know. Some things that I feel and you would feel, and most people listening to this podcast would feel, are just common knowledge. So going out there and finding these actual questions that people need answered, and realizing that they're getting Reddit answers, which are either wrong or just mean.
Right.
Sometimes
Yeah.
Or both.
So being able to go and get like an insight into what people are actually asking without having to try to go through the forums of AVS or some of the other places, which is nothing but a litany of, Google it or, use the search or whatever. At least now I can go through there and find some really good insight into what people are actually thinking about. But I really can't stress enough how I think it's so important how quality has come up and prices have come down to a point where home theater, to get a good home theater. I mean, I'm not talking about. So John's home theater is amazing. He's got all the most expensive equipment. You can get a lot of that performance for a fraction of that price, and depending on the room you're in and everything else, and just be amazed, to get to the point where you no longer want to go to a theater, like a movie theater, because your home theater is so good. That's not that hard to get anymore, and I think that's phenomenal. So that's what I'm thankful for this year.
Alrighty. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to let myself go next year because mine's pretty obvious is what I'm thankful for most, which is I'm back in my apartment. That's very nice. After it was 99 days exactly forced out of there. It was a burst pipe. So yes, that's why I was commiserating with John's earlier story of a flood. So not fun times. Not highly recommended. It was one method of getting my apartment cleaned, but I don't particularly recommend it as a great way of doing that. But in terms of home theater tech, I'm going a little bit possibly surprising for me because I haven't really highly touted these that came out this year, which is QD OLEDs, quantum dot OLEDs. We had the first 55-inch and 65-inch quantum dot OLED TVs available from Samsung and Sony this year. And if you're listening to AV Rant, it wasn't as though I was recommending them all over the place. when you're using them in a lit room, the black doesn't stay quite as black as LG Display's WOLED panels. I didn't think that the ever so slightly higher peak brightness and ever so slightly wider, color volume was really all that much to write home about. But what I'm happy to see is just how quickly the technology seems to be progressing. They're already going to have the larger 77-inch screen size coming up next year. The prices came out way lower than anticipated. We were seeing that the 65-inch Samsung was going to be like $8,000 before they actually arrived, and here it came at $3,500, I think, when it first hit the market. So I mean, just how quickly that technology is going, and it does have some advantages over LG's WOLEDs. Not to mention, this just spurs on LG Display that much more to continue driving their OLED technology forward. And I mean, when you stack up OLED displays, whether they're quantum dot OLEDs or LG's WOLEDs, against the LCD competition, as good as some of the LCDs are out there, and again, some amazing stuff that like TCL in particular is managing to do at the price points, it's like, not that OLED is still that touch better. You still get that perfect black, that pixel for pixel perfect contrast, and nothing is really going against that. And then quantum dot OLEDs basically completely mitigate any of the fears of burn-in that the WOLEDs honestly never really had, but it was that in the back of your mind, it's ever so possible that it might happen one day if you're just really negligent somehow and left 2 pixels on at maximum white brightness the entire time right in the middle of your screen. So happy to see QD OLED advancing so quickly and coming down in price, and I'm looking forward to larger screens next year. I might take some of my insurance money and hold on to it for the OLED that I lost in the flood and be like, maybe a Sony QD OLED might be in my future. I don't know. Can't say for sure. On the content side, I've talked about this show quite a bit on AV Rant, but I'm going to come at it at a little bit different angle. Arcane League of Legends, which didn't even come out in 2022, came out at the end of 2021 on Netflix. But the reason I want to just first of all, it's the best thing I've watched in years. I don't know. Has everyone here on this panel watched? I know Tom hasn't watched Arcane yet.
I haven't seen it.
He hasn't watched. DJ hasn't watched it.
No.
What the heck's going on, man? It's like 3 2-hour movies. That's all
Maverick
it is.
like 17 times. Give him a break.
That's
I
true.
know.
You have to watch every
Times,
version.
There's not many times in a day.
But the reason I wanted to bring it up yet again is just that it has reset my mindset of how I'm viewing other content, which doesn't happen very often. I think there are only a handful of keystone movies and TV shows that come along every so often that reset your whole stance on what is the excuse? That's basically what it comes down to. I'm looking at some of the movies that honestly, some of them are getting pretty high praise, and I'm like, what is the excuse that in your 2-hour and 40-minute running time, you never got me to care about a single character the way Arcane League of Legends got me to care in the first 3 episodes, not the entire series, in the first 3 episodes, got me to care and emotionally react to a dozen characters? What's the excuse? And Arcane follows the rules of good writing. They understand structure. They understand how to characterize people with strengths, weaknesses, and quirks, how to introduce them, how to have them all interact. And it's it reset my bar for no, you know what? I don't have to say, oh, that movie was not bad, so it's okay. No, there's no excuse. They spent their time, but they did it in the writing. They did it in the storyboarding. They didn't do this animation as something that couldn't have been shot in real life. They chose all the shot compositions that a real camera could have had that shot. So what's the excuse of these 300 million, 400 million budget movies that can't make me care about a single character? So it's reset my mindscape, and I'm super thankful for it. And everybody go watch it. It's so darn good.
All right.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, I put the rant in AV Rant, do I? Is that
I was
what's
just
happening
going to
here?
say, Tom, he's been hanging out with you too long. I mean, that's
He's awfully angry for Canadian over there.
That
That's
Well,
all I gotta
interview is
say.
getting up there, yeah.
even
Speaking
the
of-
ending. Even the ending when he goes, "That's what I'm thankful for."
That's what I'm thinking for. I'm not going
Pass
to take
the
it
mashed
anymore. I'm
potatoes.
mad as hell.
It's animated, and it's made me animated.
Yeah,
But speaking
but that's great.
of polite and Canadian, Andrew has been sitting there like a church mouse. If you want to, go into this Canadian stereotype of being overly polite, my goodness, I haven't heard a peep out of you, Andrew. It's time for you to talk and tell us what you've been thankful for this year.
Well, I think I'm thankful that Tom has finally broke the brainwashing and has gotten me to sell off all of my stuff, which has now helped me feed my crippling vinyl and VHS addiction.
I'm working on them, guys. I'm working on them.
You know what? It's funny because I was always on the bleeding edge. So when I had my Trinitron and all that stuff, and the next thing came out, I had a Laserdisc player. I remember when I got my first DVD player. I always was getting the next, and I threw everything out because I was like, I'm never going back, and I'm never going back. And then this year, I found myself going back, and I got back into records. I got back into CDs. I got a VCR. I got a whole bunch of my VHS tapes from my mom's place. And you know what? It makes me thankful, going back. It makes me thankful for what we have now because, I mean, it was just, I remember back in the 90s, having, a VHS and we just watched the hell out of it or having CDs. It just brings me back to that really simple time where everything was centered around my home theater and my stereo gear and the fun I had as a teenager and a young adult going out and getting stuff. And it's brought me back to that. And, the resolution is horrible on VHS, but it reminds me of...
There's resolution on VHS?
Yeah. You
It was just a pixel.
Yeah.
It's about 240 by 480. Yeah.
There's some lines. They're kind of going in between each other. Yeah, something's going
Listen,
on there.
I've got that Sony VCR auto tracking. It's amazing. It looks smooth. It's smooth. But
wait till you see one of my JVCs.
Jeez. Wait until, coming out next year.
But it makes me thankful though for what we have now because I saw where we were, I see where we are now, and it's great to have that nostalgia and it's great to still have access to that stuff. So I am very thankful for streaming as well. And anybody that has heard DJ's podcast knows that I am the biggest Star Wars nerd out there. So I'm incredibly thankful for everything that Disney's been doing with Star Wars. For the most part, with the exception of McClunky, and Rob knows what I'm talking about there.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah. But I'm so thankful that, because I grew up on Star Wars, so Star Wars was my entire life growing up. It was sort of the one thing I attached to. I was never an Indiana Jones fan, never got into that fandom, but Star Wars was always my thing. And to have the quality shows that we're having coming out every single week, that are just blowing my mind every single week. The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. I haven't watched Andor yet. I told DJ.
Andrew hasn't watched that? I was just going to,
Wow.
good thing I didn't say anything. Dude, you are in for a treat. Holy cow, are you in for a
I
treat?
haven't finished it yet either. No spoilers.
No.
I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna watch it all at once. I'm gonna take a weekend and I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna watch it all at once.
Definitely watch at least the first three together, like
Yeah,
a
you
I have.
gotta watch the
because
first two
I
together,
don't stop
yeah.
after just one.
No, I actually did watch the first three, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna stop
There
and
you
I'm gonna watch the rest all together. And I've stayed spoiler free. So I am very thankful for that. For all the quality content that's out there for Star Wars. And I guess lastly, I am thankful for Tom taking me under his wing and, teaching me a whole bunch. Being an enthusiast, you think you know stuff. And, I too lurk the Reddit subreddit for home theater. And you do see quite a bit of advice, I use that term loosely, being given out. It's interesting now that I'm on the other side and I'm learning more and I have to put out content that is being scrutinized by people. And that actually has to have some accuracy. So I've learned a lot, and I've had a lot of my preconceived notions, really challenged. So that's been a fun thing because, I remember I wrote one article and it was very, very, I don't know how I want to say this, but it was very stereophile type of, when Tom writes me back and says, did you really hear that? Or did you think you hear that? And, he really made me challenge my notion. So I've dialed that back quite a bit. I'm not quite as jaded and cynical as him, but I'm almost there.
No one
Give it
is.
20 years, my dude. do this for 20 years and see how you.
That
see how
is the
jaded you
fun
are.
part of being into this and podcasting for this long and everything. It's like the longer we go, the less certain I become of anything that I talk about. It's what's your support for that argument? I'm like, you know what? That's a good question. It's like, I'm not sure I have a great answer for that right now. But I'm sitting here just shaken to my core that Andrew hasn't finished Andor. I don't know how to recover from that.
It's taken all my willpower not to sit down and watch it weekly, but I thought I'm going to do this. I'm going to watch it all at once, and I want to experience it all at once, because I found when I watched Obi-Wan as a series without too many breaks, I found it was more cohesive because it was one to the next, so I didn't miss as much. So I'm going to sit down. I think it's 12 episodes, so I got a good weekend ahead of me.
Yeah.
Boy, Andrew's attention span is the opposite of mine, isn't it? Like the thought of like binging all that in one weekend, I couldn't possibly.
3 minutes at a time, Lee. 3 minutes
Right.
at a time.
3 minute lead,
Bite-sized chunks.
Yeah, but I can only do it for Star Wars. If it's anything else, I have to stop.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Well, John, why don't you bring us home on our What We've Been Thankful For this year in home theater section of this podcast?
Well, I'm still building mine, right? So if we're going to talk about, no, it's going to be amazing. It better be amazing. If it's not, I'm blaming DJ.
You deserve for it to be amazing, so
Yes.
it will be. That's
Well,
my
everybody else
prediction.
blames me.
Yeah. But so it's not built yet. But home theater related, I'm going to address it again. Having the detached building, it wasn't by chance. I mean, I went out looking for it, but that it worked out that I got the detached building for that is just like, out of everything, it's going to make that experience just so much enhanced of what I can get away with.
Mhm. You're telling me you wouldn't trade it for a 10-foot by 12-foot den? Like, what are you talking about?
Not probably not.
I don't know, man. I'm in Vancouver area. You're in Texas. My den probably costs as much as that detached building. So that's how it goes over here.
I believe it. I'm sure. So yeah, the detached building, and then the wife that is letting me do it. I mean, summarized into one sentence, she said, "Just do it and don't tell me about it." That's
Yep.
a pretty big window of like, alrighty then. But she wants to enjoy it. She's looking forward to it. She's very excited. She's excited. So the wife and having the detached freedom, the sandbox, just to kind of to create. I also just the community that I've sought out for along the way, because there's not a lot of us out there, unless, I mean, thank goodness for the internet, right? Where we can all find each other. Because dang, I like all my neighbors, almost all my friends. Sure, they want to watch a movie, but they are just not into this stuff. 5 minutes in, and their eyes just glaze over, and they don't want to. They're like, whatever, just push play. So it's fun to get in the community of guys, even though there are a lot of there's intense engineering nerds that are not nice, but that's complemented with, and that's made up for with good guys like we have here.
An engineer lacking tact vocally? I've never heard of such a thing, John.
I don't know.
Right.
Talking nonsense.
Talking about.
They're so smart that they're almost too smart, and and that can have a lot of antisocial properties a lot of the time, not always, of course. But yeah, just the community and kind of what I've sought out, what I've tried to find. And I went to, are you familiar with M-Wave? It's Youth Man, Michael Stevens. He kind of created it with a friend of his. So I went up to that. That was in Kansas City. So it was not that far to go to that. And so I met people up there, and we did some home tours, and I got to see some of this before I created my own theater. And so again, just getting together with a group of guys and doing some blind tests and learning about the Mad VR and looking at the different projectors and all that. So I was developed that community there, obviously. And then Cedia was here in Texas, in Dallas. So that was wonderful, because next year I think it's in Colorado. So so that was neat to again go to and learn and talk to people and just see all the electronics and just the whole industry, and just me from an outsider who is not, I'm not an integrator and I'm not a vendor. I just wanted to go and experience it. So that was, again, a good way to connect there. And then, of course, just meeting DJ, meeting the people in the community that he's developed, again, is just, so the community also is just really fun. And I have enjoyed that along the way for sure. And without a risk of, I don't know if there's rules, sounding like a commercial, I didn't do this all on my own. I hired a company that's based out of Dallas, and they're kind of big in the public eye, and you can bleep it out if you're not supposed to say anything, but it's called
No,
it's
go
called
ahead.
Dream Media. They have
Sure.
a big social following on Facebook and YouTube. Dream Media is the company that I use to help design my theater and hold my hand along the way, and what should I do with this? And I'm thinking about three of these different, amplifiers, or what kind of acoustics. So they really have held my hand along the way and helped me to, smooth my rough edges and kind of see what I want. And so Dream Media has really helped me. I would have spent twice as much, if you can believe it. If I was trying to do this all on my own, it would just be stupid. I would make so many mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes are good. But
If you count the time put in, if you pay yourself for your time, that
The
can definitely be a
time-
factor.
That is
the
that is
time
true.
and the backtracking, if I had tried to do all this on my
Right.
own, would have been tragic. So, I'd be too, I'd be a fifth of the way into this project, where really I'm looking to wrap this up and have it functioning by mid-December. So, I wouldn't be that far along. And the last thing that I wrote down, which is kind of funny, because I knew DJ was going to say Top Gun Maverick. I put down my last thing that I'm thankful for sounds so bad. I put Tom Cruise, and that sounds so horrible.
Dude loves movies, man. You don't have to be
Yeah, he
embarrassed about
does.
that.
If my wife heard me say that, because she's like, "You love Tom Cruise," because I was talking about movies the other day and introducing my son to, like, hey, we should see A Few Good Men, and then the next movie, I'm like, Dad, what else should we watch? And, like, I'd come up with, we should watch Top Gun, and then, oh, Brendan, have you seen the Mission Impossible movies? And my wife looked at me like, "You have a thing for Tom Cruise, don't you?" I said, "No." And I
Don't
thought,
we all?
maybe I do.
Maybe you'd
I
just
do.
like to see a man of my height run really fast.
Very
a lot of
fast
exertion and
movies. Yes,
That's what you like.
But you know what? Having said all that, yes, okay, I have a thing for Tom Cruise, man crush. But his passion
Yeah.
is what made. Now, of course, he wasn't the only producer. Jerry Bruckheimer and a team of producers made Maverick what it is. But he made that. As one of the well, I don't know if he was even the executive producer, Jerry Bruckheimer, and that team, right? They made that what it was, and not being scared, unapologetically making it a Top Gun movie in 2022, and not being scared to make Top Gun what it was, when a lot of the movies today are kind of annoying for one reason or another. And he said, "I am going to make this 80s movie on steroids." And
He
so
leaned
that was
into it.
cool that he leaned into it and played into it, and it paid off for him. And yeah, so yes, Tom Cruise, thank you. We thank you. 2022 thanks you. What an amazing year. Besides Dune,
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick is just stellar, and it's because of him and his team. So
Welcome back to the movies. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So we had written down a couple of roundtable topics we could get to, but we're trying to keep this at a reasonable running time so that Tom doesn't turn into a pumpkin pie and DJ is, able to keep looking at the screen without too much physical pain. So I'm going to win the unofficial bet I had behind the scenes with DJ, because there's no way we're doing two individual roundtable topics at this point. I'm just going to distill it down. And really quickly, I just wanted to get everyone's quick input. We are all undoubtedly thankful for our home theaters. We'd love to see anybody with a passing interest in watching TV and movies or listening to music in really good quality at home to be able to have their own home theater, whatever form that might take, from the least expensive setup to the most expensive setup, whatever it is, wherever you fall budget-wise, we don't care. We just want to be able to welcome more people to this community, have people be happy with the experiences that they're having at home. That's really what all of us here are about and what we're all excited about. But I just kind of want to get everybody's taste of, like, state of the union. What do we think is the state of home theater today? How are we feeling about it? Are we optimistic about it? Are there things that we think need to be corrected just out in the home theater world as a whole general? How are we feeling about it? Why don't we just go to Andrew first? We didn't talk to him that long ago, but I always feel like, I'm looking at that blank screen and he's so darn quiet in the background. So what's our overall take on where is home theater today?
Well, I still see a lot of gatekeeping in the home theater, and I think it's because you have a lot of people that say that you can't have a home theater unless it's perfect. So you have to have, the perfect positioning. You have to have the perfect, you have to have the perfect panel. You have to have the perfect sound. And I didn't start there at all. I started with, I started with
VHS.
use. Well, I did, but I started when I got back into it. I started with used speakers. I started small. I knew I couldn't have everything I want, so I got some used speakers. I got a refurbished AVR. Everything I had was used, and then I slowly started to upgrade as I could. But I found that there was a lot of gatekeeping. That when I would ask a question on one of these forums, it would be well, you can't do that because you don't have the perfect placement. So it would really discourage me from doing that. So that discouraged me a bit. And then I found you guys, and ironically, I found you guys on Reddit. Because I had asked about, because I'm a huge podcast person. So I said, are there any AV podcasts that you guys recommend? And someone said, listen to these guys, AV Rant. And that's sort of how I started. And that's where I kind of got my everything kind of turned around, because, you were like, all right, so you don't have the perfect setup, but let's make it the best we can for you folks. So you have this much for a television. Well, okay, so you can't afford OLED. So let's go with this one. This is the best one you can get for your dollar. So I think that I'm seeing a reversal of that. I'm seeing more and more positive things coming out where it's fighting some of that negativity, and you're seeing the gatekeeping going away a bit. You're always going to have it. But I'm seeing it more accessible with some of the podcasts you're seeing coming out there that are saying, let's get out, let's enjoy this. Let's make the most of the spaces we have. Let's not worry about perfection. Let's try and get the best we can for your dollar, but let's not discourage you from getting in there. And so, I went from feeling pretty negative about it to fairly positive about it. And again, writing has helped me, because my entire slant is writing for the beginner, because I still feel like I'm the beginner in this whole thing. So I write everything for the beginner to say, okay, here's what you absolutely need. Here's how you can make this thing, better. Does this really matter? No, it probably doesn't. So I think we're seeing it getting better. And I keep saying this, you're always going to have negativity, but I'm seeing more positives come out of this. And now that you have more people getting into home theater through the pandemic, there are more people that are saying, you know what, I'm really enjoying this. And there's more voices getting together collectively and not being negative.
Very nice. Lee, how about you? What's your take? Where do you see home theater these days?
It's related to what Andrew said, and a little bit related to what Tom said a little while ago about sound bars. That I'm always very interested in, can I get people to get into this, to enjoy movies more? And when you're in this world of audio, video, and home theater, you lose perspective sometimes about just what large percentage of the population has no idea anything. They just have a TV. So many people just have a TV. And if I can just get somebody to at least get a sound bar, it used to be the home theater in a box. At least do that. I'll help you run the wires, but at least get a sound bar with the little separate, I won't even call it a woofer, bass unit. That if I can just get somebody into that, because so many people just, they don't get the audio side of it. Lots of people are getting into bigger and better TVs because that's getting cheaper and it's more common. You can go to Best Buy for $600, get a pretty amazing 65-inch or even bigger TV. But it's the audio. And I get frustrated because of all of our friends and family whose homes we go to, I can only think of one who also has what you would call a home theater with like really good speakers and a subwoofer and a nice television that it all works together. Because audio is half the experience when you're watching a movie. So the state of the home theater world is good, but we still need to figure out a way to bust people out of that paradigm of just a television. And I hope it's sound bars. There is a taste of good sound in some sound bars, even a cheap one. I mentioned my mom earlier in the podcast, and that's one of that was last year's gift, was a sound bar and little bass unit, because her little home theater in a box broke, and she loves it. And she got confused one time. It changed inputs on her, and the sound wasn't. It was the end of the world. Like she got to get her good sound back. So once you get into it and you get a taste of it and you realize how important the sound is. So that's what I'm focusing on, is just, can I get people who only have a TV to at least get something? Even if you go to a pawn shop, buy a stereo receiver and just get a 2.1 system, something, let's get you into good sound. So that's what I'm focusing on probably in the coming years, getting more of my friends and family to go get things. Get
That'd
into
be
this.
nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to piggyback right off the back of that because I had a pretty similar thought, which is that I think on the video side of things, we're in a really good place right now. Like we've got like TCL's 6 Series 85-inch TV is down to $1,800 for Black Friday. Like that's an 85-inch,
Yeah.
darn good mini LED backlit, full array local dimming, beautiful, supports every flavor of HDR television for $1,800 for 85-inch screen size. Like that's getting into, hey, that's proper movie watching if you're, sitting at a 8-foot distance, and then sticking with TCL, they got their 98-inch, which is down to $5,000 now. Who thought you could get a 98-inch flat panel? Again, mini LED, full array local dimming, all the flavors of HDR. $5,000 is not chump change, but my goodness, is it no longer $20,000? This is now within the realm of, maybe I could save up and get myself a 98-inch flat panel.
Does it fit through a normal front door?
This is probably the biggest problem by now. You've got to take that thing up a flight of stairs. That's going to be an issue. But I'm thinking on the video side, we're in good shape. The ultra short throw projectors, again, might sound surprising coming from me, but like I see the tremendous value that they're offering now. And again, we're talking with a proper ambient light rejecting ultra short throw screen combined with, $3,000, $3,500 for these triple laser, ultra short throw projectors. Like, are you going to have the inky black level of an OLED or even a full array local dimming LCD? Well, no, not even in the pitch black or with the ultra short throw screen, but there's something to be said for 120 inches just sitting there that you can actually, watch a football game and have it look really darn good, even with some lights on. Like that's something we just didn't have at that price point before. Yep. And I think we're in good shape there. On the audio side, I'm almost seeing like the two strata, like a stratification is my personal viewpoint of at least what I'm seeing in terms of products that are being announced. Because it seems like on the high end, it's getting more expensive. We're not seeing the like really top tier components being put into new but affordable speakers. These speakers are coming out. They're really nice components. I'm sure they sound fantastic. They look fantastic, but they're getting like really pricey. And then on the bottom end, like I love seeing Monoprice bringing out like ever less expensive monolith speakers that still measure really well, but I can't exactly say the aesthetics are winning any awards. They're very plain black boxes. And it's like, there's like Yamo that looks kind of nice in the very affordable range. And then there's Monoprice that's very affordable, but not terribly good looking. And I'm like, where are the good looking, compact, nobody's going to complain about their looks, still good performers at the low end? And then where's all the middle gone? That's almost where I'm feeling in terms of speakers. But when it comes to sound bars, I'm not a big fan. I'm going to hand this off to Tom because I'm going to prompt him with something that I think he might have was going to maybe talk about, which is like the self-powered speakers and nicer versions of them. And it's like, maybe that's the next step. You go soundbar, you want even better. Now you got some really nice self-powered speaker versions. Tom?
Right. So, of course, we all kind of agree what's going on with the home theater and TVs and stuff is generally been going in a pretty good direction. TVs are finally getting to the point where those gatekeepers that Andrew was talking about, who want to keep people out, can no longer say, "Oh, you can't have. It's not a home theater because you don't have a projector." It's like I got a 98-inch or 95-inch flat panel, dude. Shut up. It's big enough. It's big enough. It is as big as your stupid screen. It's big enough. So we're seeing a good direction here. I do like, and prices have been kind of wonky on this, though. There are some good options out there. The self-powered speakers, and I think that's sort of like the intermediate step for people who want to go past the sound bar but can't fathom having placing speakers around their room, and it's just something that people have to get over, unfortunately. And it's just physics. You have to have you have to have a speaker behind you to have the sound come from behind you. I don't care what phase tricks or bouncing around the room tricks they try to use. Nothing beats having a physical speaker there. But sometimes they just want to have better sound, and sound bar's not doing it. So they go for the self-powered speakers. And we're seeing Kef release some really
Yeah.
good but quite expensive models.
Sure.
But we're seeing other stuff come out too. Like Fluence has introduced quite a few self-powered speakers that are reasonably priced. I mean, they're not small, but they're bookshelf speakers. And I think people are okay with that once they get past the fact that they're having to get over the soundbar thing.
It's
Well, if I
having the
have to put a
convenience
speaker-
too, right? Like having the HDMI input on them, having all the streaming services built into them. Like
Yeah.
it's putting it all in that one package with one plug. Yeah,
That's
you
right.
gotta like that.
Plug it all into your, directly into your TV, and all you need is a power plug up there. So now you're one step closer to have a full home theater system. And I for a long time, the only self-powered speakers that were out there were computer monitors
Yeah.
of any kind, and we're now really starting to see more options in this direction. I think it's a really good direction for home theater to go.
Yeah, Klipsch, SVS, they're in there too with those types of designs. So
Yeah.
I like to see that. John, how about you? Where are you seeing the state of home theater? I mean, you're right in the thick of it. Yours is being built, and you're at a more expensive price point than I am. But I think you're going through a lot of the same research and seeing the same trends. So what's your take on it?
Right. Well, having come just from CEDIA, and when I was at M-Wave, which was up in Kansas City, one of the people that was up there was Foam. I didn't want to say FOMO.
Well, that's his channel.
help me
That's how
out.
everybody knows him on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was there, and I was talking to him, and then and talking to people at CEDIA, like, what? Because at CEDIA they had the Samsung The Wall.
Hmm.
I don't even know how big that was. It was the size of a wall. I forget. and then they had one that was on the other side of the wall, was like the mini wall, and it's like and so that's the micro LED technology, and and they're $250,000 to I want to say till $800,000, but even that you can make them even bigger than that. So you can make them 3 times as big as what they show as the wall. So I was talking to him about just that technology and where do you see this happening? So we were talking about how he's even because he's very knowledgeable with TVs, the ins and outs, and just very techie with that. And he said he's even seen some now that the next thing, like, because how do you go bigger? How do you get a 110-inch TV into a house through a door around a corner? And he said they're coming up with flexible screens, like really flexible, and they're not here. Still developing the technology strong in Japan, but that's kind of the next phase. And of course, that's going to be ridiculously expensive because it's new tech. But when we see things like the walls come from $500,000 down to 250,000, it's still way far away from a 150-inch screen that you would put in for a projector, and you could get for say 10,000. A projector and a screen. I mean, you get it for less than that, right? You could get a screen and a projector at 150-inch at $5,000, or maybe even $4,000 with a short throw. But if we're talking about the perfect blacks and everything of an OLED or
And just
the
in case
micro
anybody
LED.
somehow isn't familiar, we should mention that the wall is a modular display. It's
Yeah.
almost like a
It's
series of
panels,
Legos.
23 or
Right, put
27-inch tablets, basically,
Right.
that have no frames on them, so they all just stick together. And if you get
As big as you
really
wanna
close,
make it.
you can see a little bit of the seams, but from normal viewing distance,
You-
it just
you
looks
can't
like
see-
one
right.
contiguous display.
Yeah. So it's new tech. But having said all that these new TVs, I'm excited to just see how these flexible TVs and roll up TVs
Yep.
could come into play when the price point comes down. We might not even need our projectors anymore, and they aren't going to radiate some significant heat. Which the wall,
Yeah,
you
it gets
can-
toasty.
you can. I mean, especially in a room, and if you're watching a 3-hour movie, it's going to affect the temperature of the room.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you don't just need the panel. You need a pony panel on your electrical panel to put that thing in there.
right. So I'm just excited to see what's going to happen. Like, how far are we away where we can ditch the projector and the 160-inch screen and go to, an equivalent OLED. I'm going to say OLED, but it won't be called an OLED at that point. A micro LED, 10th generation where
Hmm.
we could have a 150 inch with the perfect black, because it's coming. But
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what that's going to look like, and the price come down.
Cool. Well, DJ, bring us home. What's going on?
All right. State of home theater, I think, is pretty much as right where it's been. I really think that it's like you think back to when we started talking to Andrew, we started with VHS, right? And you go back to those days in Frankenstein systems that Tom and I talked about the first time he was on. Yep, there we go. Lee's
Lee
showing his
proudly.
TDK, and it's like, what did we do back then? It's like, as home theater enthusiasts, we
What are you doing
we
with those?
we threw our systems together.
How
Lee,
did you find one that quickly?
he's in his den area.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
look at him all.
Okay.
Yeah,
Lee is where home theater was. You're right about that, DJ.
right.
That's amazing.
Exactly. Cassette tapes. But we
All right here, ready to go.
there you go.
The next
So-
great comeback.
So that's good. So we built those systems. We started with the crappiest of displays. I mean, back then, if you could get to 32 inches, you were a 32-inch screen. That was a display. That was your home theater. That was considered a home theater screen. And now we're talking, I mean, the stuff that everybody here has been talking about, 98 inches for $5,000.
Yeah.
Or not only that, you can get a 65-inch for like $200,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and that people ask me, what should I get for a display? Like, what's your budget? I don't, and that's it. And I'm like, here, get the biggest that you can get when you're starting
Yeah.
out, right?
For a flat panel, yeah.
For anything, when you get going in this, just start out, and then you're gonna learn as you go. And I think that's what people are doing. As far as like, I almost like, I felt bad for you, Lee, when you're saying like you want to get people into it, and
Yeah.
I've been there, and I've been there in other hobbies as well, where we just have so much passion for it that we want others to feel that. I've stopped doing that.
I've had to learn when to give up. Yeah.
Right, and it's
It's
just like
tough. So, sometimes you're
is.
just not going to make progress. with
it
somebody.
is, and it's like what I've found is over the years is when people, more and more people, and this I don't do those forums anymore. I don't do Reddit, and I'll go there every now and then. Like I'll see Tom will mention something on the show, and I'll be like, oh, I got to go back there and check these out. And I go there for the comic relief, because it is filled with people that are passionate, but their knowledge is misguided, and they're trying to get people. They were doing what, like you were saying, Lee, is like, I want to get people to this system, and I want to get them to. I'm like, it's either there or it's not, and it's like,
Right.
think about something that you don't like, that somebody else does like, and no matter what they say to you, they're not going to get you to do it. I
Sure.
can't. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's
gasoline cars. How about that?
there you go. Right. It's like, and
Yeah, it's time to start wrapping up. Tom's going to explode. Yeah,
I did
there
that
you
just
go.
for Tom.
yeah,
That's right.
but
It was time for him to get a higher heart rate just now.
so I
Ah.
think home theater's doing well. I think it's a niche thing, and I think it's growing. I think our podcasts are helping bring people together that are like-minded. You guys have been educating for years and years, and you're a product. Your opinions on things are a product of that. It's like you've been helping people grow their systems for so long, and now people are getting better systems, and that's part of what this hobby is all about. It's nobody wants to stay like stagnant. You're always looking for the next best thing. And that's what we're talking about here, is we're just like, oh, what are we seeing next? Rob, you're looking forward to those new TVs, and it's like, and Tom's like happy that we're not doing home theater in the box. And what are we all talking about? Every single time, it's the evolution. And I think it's always evolving. It always will be. And now, like, John said earlier, the community, we've cultivated this community into people that are as passionate, but not as misguided. right? We don't know everything. Nobody knows
There's
everything.
no chance of that.
But we all respect everybody else's opinions. And I think that's what's a lot of
Also
fun.
Speak for yourself, but go on.
What's that?
well put, DJ. And we
Yeah.
want to welcome more people into it. And we have gone over the allotted time that we set for ourselves, but I think we managed just fine. And this has
Still
been
early for my show.
Yeah, that's
DJ,
right. That's
DJ.
right.
Yeah, no,
And
DJ
we're
and
not
I,
even hitting the 2-hour club.
We've gone
I've
three.
been on enough of DJ's. This is like we're not even at the midway point here.
No.
DJ, I'm just real quick. Lee likes these lower budget sci-fi movies. Should we tell him? Should we tell him, DJ?
Yeah.
Tell me what I need to know.
Have you seen
I'm ready
this
to
one?
make notes. Go ahead.
Go ahead, tell him.
The P, I forget the name of it.
Predestination
is.
with Ethan Hawke.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you seen
I
that?
think that's-
exciting.
Has
Lee,
anybody
that's your
seen
next
it?
movie?
When was that? How old a movie is that?
2014.
2014. Okay.
Yeah. So I won't tell you anything other than
No, I don't want to know a thing, good or bad. I don't.
No.
That
You're
makes
gonna
it fun. I'll go
you are
watch one.
going-
If it's terrible, I don't care. It sounds great.
you're gonna like it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okie doke.
Yeah.
Has
Well,
anybody
folks-
else here seen that?
Nope.
Go watch
Hadn't
it,
even
guys.
heard of it.
Gonna
Wow.
look that up.
You
right,
gotta check it
right
out.
now after this podcast.
Andrew?
I don't know. It sounds familiar. I'm sure I watched it.
You're gonna watch it, and then you're gonna watch it again,
Yeah, you are.
really quick. Yep.
Alrighty, folks. Well, we have been thankful everywhere all at once for yet another year. Been a fun time here. Before we wrap up completely, if folks want to get in touch with us, want to let them know how to do that, Tom, why don't you let folks know how to get in touch with the AV Rant crew?
Well, of course, you can go to avrant.com and find our podcast there. We're also available on Facebook at facebook.com/AVRant Podcast and youtube.com/AVRant. YouTube. We record our sessions, Rob and I. It's really the only reason we're putting it up there is because it's convenient to do so. So if you like to see the pictures as we are talking about people's theaters, because all we do is answer home theater questions from our listeners about equipment or setup or placement and all those other things. So we will mention that we're looking at pictures or we're examining pictures. You can follow along if you go to our show notes. You'll find a Flickr album to follow along. But if you don't want to have to do that manually, just go to youtube.com/AVRant, where our YouTube videos will have the pictures along with them. And if you want to contact us directly, it's rob@avrant.com. My Twitter, we don't do Twitter anymore. So it's and my my email is tom@avrant.com.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on there. I'm trying to encourage folks to give Hive a try. Hive Social, which seems like the most Twitter-like, except that it's going through growing pains and all that. They got a gazillion people signing up all at once. But I'm at First Reflect everywhere. At First Reflect, FIRSTREF. LECT. So whatever social media you're on, give that a search, and if I'm there, you'll find me because I try to reserve that handle everywhere. So that's an easy way to get in touch with Rob. How about Lee, our other member of our AV Rant recording crew? Sometimes
I'm still hanging on Twitter for now. I'm going to create an account on these other things because I like to be everywhere. But see, I got to come up with a clever name, right? That gets difficult. I'm Lee Overtweet on Twitter, so that's kind of fun. And now I've got to figure out what I'm going to be. What am I going to be? Lee Overtoot on Mastodon? It makes no sense. Right? Am I going to be? What was the suggestion from DJ?
I mean,
told
Buzz.
me to be.
It seems like we're going with
Leehive.
buzzes for Hive.
Lee Hive on Hive.
Oh yeah, Lee.
Yeah.
Lee
Get
Hive
the
sounds like
buzz.
Beehive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I should be Lee Overhive. I don't know. It's just too much thinking.
Why do
So
we
I'm
keep
just
having him on our podcast?
I don't know.
Why?
like it's
Can you
almost
hear
10
these
years
jokes?
now.
These are the jokes. that
And
he
how
brings?
does he not have a Lee@avrant.com email address?
For real?
Ask
The
Andrew why I never
mysteries.
finished setting up the Andrew at AV Gadgets email that I should have set up for him. I had it.
I mean-
I think we had it halfway done and I forgot about it.
I
so-
should get the AV Rant Gold watch by now. I don't know. I at
don't-
least should get the email
Where's,
address.
look at this watch I'm wearing here. You see
Nothing.
that? That is
Is that smiley
that is-
faces?
This is from a climbing competition I was at in Alabama where I was not visiting Lee. Thank you very
Which is
much.
a little upsetting. Little bit upsetting.
mention of Andrew there. Andrew used to be on Twitter. I couldn't DM him anymore to even organize this get-together podcast because it seems like he's skedaddled off of that service, which I don't blame you, Andrew. But is there a way for people to get in touch with you?
Not really. If you need to get a hold of me, I pretty much stay off socials completely.
What's your phone number, Andrew?
Yeah, phone number, there you go.
If you do need to find any of my stuff, you can just look up my name on AV Gadgets, and I'll come up as a contributing author, and it'll show all of my pieces. And I think that we are working on getting an email
I'm sending
through
you a
AV
test
Gadgets.
email to see if it works.
I need to be able to talk to him. We got to talk about VHS.
I'll email you my personal, Lee.
All right, let's do that. Yeah.
That'll work.
No. So if you need to get in contact with Andrew, until I get his, it will someday be andrew@avgadgets.com when I finish it.
Yeah, the
That's
email
my
addresses
bad.
just can't be set up. This is not a technology we've
This
developed yet.
This is
highly
not-
experimental.
I set up home theaters. I don't set up email addresses.
Actually,
but
I just
until
got your
then,
email,
just
Tom.
CC me at Tom@avgadgets, and I'll make sure that Andrew gets the information.
Well, DJ, why don't you let folks know all about Brightside Home Theater Podcast in case they aren't already familiar, and the contact info over there.
You could find all the links to YouTube, all the other ones, all the other podcast platforms at my website, brightsidehometheater.com. I am still on Twitter. I'm on Hive. I'm on Mastodon. I've joined, same thing, same as
Yeah.
Rob, jumped over.
Get your handle. That's all it's really
Get your
about.
handle, and everything is at, Brightside HT.
Okay.
So, and, but yeah, still sticking around on Twitter because that seems to be where everybody is for the most part. All the other ones are like that scene in Everything Everywhere All at Once of the two rocks talking to each other.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it yet.
All I can ever think with Twitter is the line from Josie and the Pussycats, where she's just the villain is whining. It's just like everybody's already here.
Yeah. Well, that's what that's pretty much what Twitter is. Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then all the other ones are those rocks. And it's
Yeah.
pretty much just that's the analogy of social media right now. But yeah, and you can email me at dj@brightsidehometheater.com. And yeah, and same with I don't know, John, what do you want? Do you want to give out your email or
Well, I don't have a podcast. Yeah, so
no, but you're
I
on.
don't
What do you
think-
want,
Hey,
buddy?
next steps in your home theater journey, John. Next steps.
yeah,
Yep.
I interact a lot with DJ's YouTube / on Twitter. So if anyone has any questions or anything, you can usually find me through DJ's channels of communication as well. So that's
Okay.
probably the easiest way.
Well, we are very thankful to be here for another year. We hope that you, the listeners, have been thankful to share this time with us and come in once again, get this cross podcast event going. Happens once a year. You got to mark it on your calendars and be ready for it to come. Hope you've looked forward to it. Hope you've enjoyed it. So I'll just say on behalf of John, Andrew, Lee, Tom, DJ, and myself, Rob H., we're all very appreciative that you're part of this home theater community. We hope we welcome more and more people into it with us. So I'll just
Thank you,
say for
guys.
now,
Thank
hey, go push play.
And stay in and listen to something.